Well, let's move to UK politics now, and a not unrelated story, because Labour's candidate for the Rochdale by-election has been forced to apologise after he was caught making controversial remarks about the war between Israel and Hamas.
Yeah, this was a secret recording obtained by the Mail on Sunday, and in it, Azhar Ali is heard saying that Israel, check this, had allowed the deadly attack by Hamas gunmen on October the 7th.
Well, we're joined now by our TalkTV senior political commentator, Peter Cardwell, and also the Sun columnist, Rod Liddle. Good morning to you both. Rod, we'll start with you. Look, Keir Starmer has made it a central mission of his time as leadership, as head of the Labour Party, to get rid of anti-Semitism. This story, like a few others there have been recently, makes that slightly more difficult for him.
Rod?
Who are you asking? Sorry.
Can you hear us,
sorry,
Rod?
starting with you.
Oh, right, OK. Well, it does make it more difficult, yeah, sure. But it's very straightforward that Azhar Ali seems to be parroting the same kind of deeply ingrained anti-Semitism, which is always that Israel controls everything. Israel always knows what's going on. Israel is the kind of a ghost in the machine which runs the world's press, and which of course knew about the attack because it kind of orchestrated the attack on itself. It's an absurdity, but it will appeal, I have to tell you, to a good many voters in Rochdale who sympathise with the Palestinians. So while Azhar Ali has apologised, and I don't believe in his apology at all, and Pat McFadden, when he was asked whether Azhar Ali should stand down, couldn't actually give an answer. You know, this won't have done Azhar Ali's candidacy any harm whatsoever.
It's really interesting. Rod, great to see you again, pal. Been a couple of weeks. I've been somewhat busy. But great to have you on. So when I sort of read about this overnight, and we were coming in to do the show, so on the one hand, you've got Starmer, who's put in this 4 years, and I've tried to clean up, despite the fact he was in Corbyn's cabinet, despite the fact, by the way, that his wife is Jewish and he has two Jewish kids. This is a point that we need to make. He's stuck between a rock and a hard place, apparently, Roddy, because he's told, we're told he can't get rid of this candidate. He gives the other parties in that constituency an absolute bat to beat him over the head with, and he's not apparently able to stand up and do anything. Is this not a moment for other parties, certainly the Tory government, to start making the point that so many people in this country believe that it is a smokescreen and Labour hasn't changed on certain things?
Yeah, I mean, I think in many cases Labour has changed. I mean, Starmer has changed the Labour Party without question.
But it's still there. There's an example. It's still there.
But yeah, of course it is. Of course it is, Jeremy. Yeah, of course. Because what he cannot change is the membership of the Labour Party. There is nothing he can do about it. And if you suggested to pretty much any member of Momentum as to whether they agreed with Azhar Ali, I think nearly all of them would say yes, and quite a large proportion of the backbench of his own party. There is huge anti-Semitism in the party. However, I mean, the problem, I suppose in a way it's not a problem for Keir Starmer. The problem in this particular issue is that what Azhar Ali is saying will appeal to a large number of voters in Rochdale. They will be pleased when they hear that. It makes it slightly more likely. That's the problem with the Conservatives making hay over this issue. It makes it slightly more likely that the Labour Party is going to win Rochdale with considerable ease.
Yeah, ease is exactly the word. Rod, we've been hearing that the Conservative Party aren't sort of going through the normal process they would before a by-election. They're almost laying the groundwork to be able to later to say, oh, you know, we didn't try that hard for that by-election. They've got 3 to come in the next 2 weeks, and it looks pretty miserable in Conservative HQ right now.
Yes, I think the Conservative Party is kind of almost a lost cause. It seems to have no clear and sharp leadership from Rishi Sunak. And meanwhile, there are 4 or 5 internecine struggles going on within the party itself. And it's certainly ill-equipped to win a by-election, particularly in somewhere like Rochdale, which really will be a straight down the line Labour victory for this anti-Semite who is standing, and the fact that he's an anti-Semite will merely increase his appeal to a large number of voters in that constituency. The Tories are in deep trouble, and there seems to be no possible way that they could tick an upturn in the polls They've been banking on raising the standards of living, lowering the cost of living, and that hasn't worked particularly. They're now suggesting there are going to be tax cuts without the money to pay for them or any actual indication that they will introduce tax cuts. So they're in enormous trouble. And of course, to my mind, it's the problem with having this redundant two-party system that you get either one or the other of them, and it looks as if next time around we're going to have a convocation of Boers and anti-Semites bleeding us, i.e. with Sir Keir.
Roddy, stay there. I can talk about the army in a minute. Pete, really important that we do this for legal reasons. List all the other candidates, and also he did make an apology, didn't he?
Yeah, let me read the apology first.
I don't think he wrote it. Do you?
I don't think he wrote it either, but listen, he made the apology, and I'm sure he would deny being anti-Semitic or an anti-Semite. I apologise unreservedly to the Jewish community for my comments, which were deeply offensive, says Azhar Ali, who's the Labour Party candidate for Rochdale. My comments were deeply offensive, ignorant and false. Hamas's horrific terror attack was the responsibility of Hamas alone, and they are still holding hostages who must be released. October the 7th was the greatest loss of Jewish life in a single day since the Holocaust, and Jews in the UK and across the world are living in fear of rising anti-Semitism. I will urgently apologise to Jewish leaders for my inexcusable comments. The Labour Party has changed unrecognisably under Keir Starmer's leadership. He has my full support in delivering the change Britain needs. And of course, Azhar Ali is just one candidate. The full list of candidates for the Rochdale by-election, that is, of course, on the 29th of February. So that's Azhar Ali. He is alphabetically the first for the Labour Party. Then Mark Coleman, Simon Danchuk for Reform UK, Ian Donaldson from the Liberal Democrats, Paul Ellison of the Conservative Party, George Galloway of Workers' Party of Britain, Michael Howarth, William Howarth, who's an independent, Guy Otten of the Green Party, Raven Subordina, the official monster raving loony party, and David Tully, who is independent.
Just quickly, Rod, on that list, let's just talk about the elephant in the room. George Galloway, the Workers' Party of Britain, who is going to be talking from a Palestinian point of view, from a Muslim point of view. Is this going to impact on his vote? Would the Labour Party have to look over their shoulder at George Galloway, do you think?
Well, I think they have to look over their shoulder towards George Galloway slightly less as a consequence of Azhar Ali's comments, because something around the region of 60 to 65% of Muslims vote Labour. That was certainly true at the last election. It reduced very sharply after October the 7th, when Sir Keir Starmer came out very, very strongly in defence of the Israeli state and in defence of Israeli action to root out Hamas, and it dropped down to 15%. But all it needs is that sort of comment from Azhar Ali, and I suspect Azhar Ali knew that. I mean, you heard that apology. Within that apology, why did he say what he said then?
If it was fake, completely with you. What are you supposed to believe about this man? Who 24 hours ago says, it was Israel's fault, and 24 hours later say it was fake, it was lies. I'm sorry. Why would you vote for him?
Well, it's ludicrous. It's ludicrous. You vote for him because you know that underneath he loathes Israel.
Yeah,
and that's to put it mildly.
But before you go, I want to ask you about a story. Grant Shapps, front and centre of his agenda today is a review of the diversity and the inclusivity policies that are happening in terms of recruitment to the British military. He says woke extremists are rife in the army. What's he uncovered, and is he right?
Well, of course he's right, but who let it happen? We've had a Tory government for 8 years, and they have let this happen to virtually every institution in this country, whether it's the NHS with its multitude of diversity tsars, insisting that the government's wrong about transgender issues and all this rubbish, and the propaganda that is being pumped into our schools on a daily basis. Of course he's right. It's happened to the British Army as well, but it happened on his watch, or on the Conservative Party's watch, which is why, a lot of people are losing faith with the party, because it simply can't be trusted to stand up to the ideological extremism which has taken grip of the country in the last 10 to 15 years. It has been under their doing.
I mean, I think you're absolutely right. And I said earlier, we have to acknowledge, all of us, whatever our political persuasion, that, any institution, the army or the NHS, has to, I suppose, mirror the country and the the place that it represents. But it's gone the other bleeding way now. Now to tick a box, then anybody that's not apparently of the right ethnic whatever is not going to get the job, which to me destroys the whole point of it, doesn't it?
Well, it destroys the point of it, and it's racist and it's sexist. But what it also does is it has a dramatic effect, as we've seen in America, which has done the same thing, on recruitment.
Yeah.
Because you're a white working class bloke and you see that you're going to be passed over for every possible job opportunity, and that actually the army doesn't give a monkeys about you through its adverts or through its various diversity proclamations. Why on earth would you sign up? Why would you put yourself through that?
Rod, it is always an absolute pleasure. I haven't missed a lot, but I've certainly missed you in the last 2 weeks, my friend.
Cheers, mate.
Rod, thank you so much.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks a lot.